Welcome back. One community activist is blasting the local education system for failing to teach the nation's youth about the important role played by St. Lucian soldiers who fought in the 2 world wars. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
Sunday, the 8th of November, has been approved for the observation of Remembrance Day 2020 as a national day of remembrance for the brave men and women who lost their lives serving their countries during the World Wars of 1914 to 1918 and 1939 to 1945. This includes 24 St. Lucians. Whilst the national event is annually celebrated with a military parade and the laying of the wreath ceremony, this year's activities have been cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise in the number of cases in St. Lucia. The government of St. Lucia has issued an appeal to the public to remember and pay tribute to our war heroes and keep them in prayer. However, community activist Aaron Alexander believes something official should be done, no matter how low-key. Alexander told Hot 7 News on Friday that too much was sacrificed by our soldiers for the remembrance to be cancelled outright.
So it's important for us to acknowledge the day, even though it's not in no grandiose way or have any great activity, because we know we're living in the COVID times. We must ensure that this day, that particular day, there's some sort of remembrance for that, because a lot of soldiers, St. Lucian soldiers lost their lives in the war, fighting on the front lines for our freedoms that we enjoy today. So these are things we should not take lightly. As you know, Carnival was not held the traditional way, Journée Créole was not held the traditional way. So there should still be something, some kind of activity, something to acknowledge and to keep the day alive.
Taking his plight to another level, Alexander said the remembrance of St. Lucia's fallen soldiers should go beyond Remembrance Day. He said it is vital to introduce the topic to schools, as such history could help shape better men and women of the future.
These are some of the things we've always been calling for, these things to be taught in our school system. Teach our children about these kind of sacrifices that were made by those brave men and women from St. Lucia who went to fight on the front lines, because our children today living with no sense of purpose. And we could see it reflected in the way they move around. Our young men, their pants all under their backside with no dignity in them, no integrity, no sense of worth within them, and these things, the education system keep failing our children all the time.
Alexander said the topic is also needed to instill more national and self-pride.
So as a Rastafari, we want to call again, make that kind of appeal as a community activist myself, make that kind of appeal to the authorities to start educating our youth even about these things, Remembrance Day, the sacrifices made by our forefathers. All these things need to be inculcated into the education system if we are to really see people, taking a serious pride and taking a serious step towards acknowledging such a day. And when you talk about that, people will know where you're coming from. How many of our young people know of those things we're talking about there? How many of them know that? It's our education system that failing our children all the time. And education minister after education minister is the same old. The more things change, the more they remain the same.
The community activist said education of this kind is vital food for the mind. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
The move by schools to return to online instruction due to a rise in COVID-19 cases has led to calls for more intervention to support online learning. The government of the Republic of China on Taiwan, which has continuously taken a keen interest in supporting ICT education on island, says it is willing to collaborate further where needed.
Over the years, the government of the Republic of China Taiwan has been instrumental in connecting St. Lucian students and teachers through its ICT and education projects. Its latest installment has been a smart classroom for the Soufriere Comprehensive Secondary School, where they also presented laptops and tablets for use in the classroom. Students returned to their virtual classrooms in October and will remain there for the foreseeable future. The Taiwanese ambassador to St. Lucia says his government is willing to help where possible.
Besides smart classroom, smart education program, we also have a GINet program, and that's something that we can provide maybe rural area or disadvantaged area to better access to internet or to online resources. And also we will keep on helping school to acquire more device for them to have this kind of internet learning.
The ambassador says that education remains a pillar of collaboration for his government and for St. Lucia.
Education is the backbone of the nation's development. So both Taiwan and St. Lucia government are keen to promote education cooperation. And we see quite good outcome from the smart education program. And just as you say, we have a ceremony at Sucre, and we're looking forward to have more cooperation in that. And I think this is the right moment because although I think most of countries suffer from COVID-19, including St. Lucia, but for students, now is the good time, and also for the teacher to apply the online skill.
Students will remain away from the classroom at least until November 30th, 2020. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Members of the Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari, ICA, say the government continues to drag its feet when it comes to the decriminalizing of cannabis in St. Lucia. The PRO of ICA, Emerson Nurse, gave an update on a lawsuit that was filed against the government for infringement of their constitutional right as it relates to the use of cannabis during religious ceremonies. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
While frameworks are still being commissioned to discuss the decriminalizing of cannabis in St. Lucia, many other CARICOM islands, including Dominica, have taken the decision to decriminalize certain quantities of marijuana. The interim president of THC, the Herbal Cooperative, says the government continues to drag its feet when it comes to the decision that has to be made. He says, after years of consultation, marches, and research being done and presented to the current administration, the fact that a decision cannot be arrived at raises red flags. Andre De Keris explained what an ideal and functional cannabis industry in St. Lucia would look like.
We would like you to imagine an agricultural system much like how the banana industry was originally set up. That is with the SLBGA, the St. Lucia Banana Growers Association, being the central purchasing agency. But in the case of the cannabis industry, the cooperative would be that central purchasing agency. The final intention is for the cooperative to become a cooperative credit union. Unlike the banana industry though, which failed to add value to the raw material, the cooperative intends to acquire an oil extraction plant and facility. So we will not only generate revenue by the sale of raw material, but by producing CBD oil for local use, as well as for use in the massive export market.
A court hearing was held on Thursday where members of the Lucian Cannabis Movement brought forth the motion that the Drug Act infringes the constitutional rights of Rastafarians as it relates to the use of marijuana during religious ceremonies. Member of the movement, Emerson A. Nurse, explained that one of the 4 claims brought forward has not been filed. Nurse explained the religious beliefs of many St. Lucians seem to be one of the most pressing factors that is hindering the process. He made reference to an excerpt written by a Jamaican archbishop asking St. Lucia to use this as an example.
That in creating the world and everything in it, God created them good and for the good of mankind. Second, God invested in mankind's stewardship and dominion over all things. This required mankind to investigate with a view to understanding the qualities and capabilities of the various plants and herbs, including even noxious ones. And third, in the exercise of dominion, mankind was also expected to exercise responsibility. We always teach people everything in moderation. Anything that we do in excess or abuse is going to have ill effects upon us. Based on these principles, His Grace confirmed that the decriminalization of ganja for private use would have the blessing of the Roman Catholic Church. He emphasized that the views he expressed were personally shared by his fellow bishops in Jamaica.
The advocates for the decriminalization of marijuana in St. Lucia say they will not stand by idly while the government continues to infringe on the rights of Rastafarians and keep the economy stagnant. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
20 farmers have signed off on a purchase agreement with the St. Lucia Marketing Board. We hear more in this report.
The Department of Agriculture, St. Lucia Marketing Board, and the Taiwan Technical Mission has entered into a contractual agreement with a core of farmers in an effort to ensure a consistent supply of produce throughout the year. The purchase agreement will strengthen ties between the St. Lucia Marketing Board and local farmers, thereby enhancing the marketing strategy of produce from the farming community. Under the agreement, the 20 chosen farmers are required to supply a variety of crops, including the 7 crops under the Enhancement of the Efficiency of Production Distribution Supply Chain in the Fruits and Vegetable Sector Project, more widely known as the 7 Crops Project. Operations Manager of the St. Lucia Marketing Board, Teresa Daisy, explains that this initiative is in keeping with the mandate of the Marketing Board to support farmers extensively throughout the island.
Those farmers will be issued a 6-month contract in the initial stage, and at the end of the contract, they will be issued some incentives in the form of fertilizer and ground cover. Now, to qualify for these incentives, farmers must sell an amount no less than 5,000 worth of produce to the Marketing Board. After the 6-month contract comes to an end, the contract will be extended, providing farmers complete and adhere to the contract. Now, those farmers here will be viewed as living testimonies to other farmers, because we intend to extend the contract to other farmers who will be signing the contracts today.
Ambassador of the Republic of China Taiwan to St. Lucia, His Excellency Peter Shen, says the purchase agreement between the St. Lucia Marketing Board and the farmers marks a new milestone for the development of St. Lucia's agricultural sector.
It is very encouraging to learn that about 15 farmers will sign a contract with St. Lucia Marketing Board today. And I'm looking forward to see more farmers participating in the near future. Taiwan will continue to work with the government of St. Lucia to promote precision agriculture, smart agriculture, and achieve 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources and Cooperatives, Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, encourages the farmers to honor their contractual agreements to ensure the success of the pilot project.
Do not enter into a contractual arrangement with the St. Lucia Marketing Board, and we agree that you're going to sell whatever crop at a certain price, and some person, individual, some middleman will come to you and say, I give you 25 cents more. And you will say, look, I am selling to that middleman because I get 25 cents more. That would create problems for the program. Because the same way St. Lucia, the Marketing Board, is expecting you to produce and to bring in the products, the same way they will enter into arrangements with supermarkets to be able to supply the products. So on both sides, we have to be committed.
The Minister for Agriculture continues to reaffirm the government's commitment to enable a thriving agricultural economy in St. Lucia. From the Information Unit at the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Stay with us. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.